Okay, hello there my crochet friends. I'm talking this morning. I'm going to show you a little bit about how to keep your granny square square. When you start making granny squares, it can be really confusing, and I know a lot of people get confused as to where the corners are. So I've made up this sample of the granny squares, and this is the first row. And I've marked up the corners. I've marked up the corners so you can see where the corner stitches go, because there's 4 corners obviously on a granny square, and what I see a lot of people doing, they'll end up with either 3 corners or sometimes even 5, or they'll have 4 corners but one of them is in the wrong place. So whilst you're learning and getting used to sort of granny squares, it's quite good to have a visual reminder to know where the corners are. This is a bit over the top, I know, but I've marked this one up all the way along. Now, you wouldn't usually do this, but I've done this that you can see that, and it's just done with a piece of wool. They look like little birds, don't they? And I've just marked up each corner so you can see the corners run. Yeah, so you can see where the corners are. You wouldn't usually have a piece of work looking like this, but I wanted you to see where the corners run. So you can mark, you can use anything, threads, you can use pins to mark, you can just singly tie a piece of thread because you need to get it out afterwards. But I did pick up some more stitch markers yesterday because I'd run out. I tend to give them to people and then before I know it I haven't got any. But I put some blue ones on the piece of work I'm doing today so we can see where we are. So I'm just going to show you now the start. Okay, I have made a video on how to make a granny square, so I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but I'm going to move that there so there is a piece of green behind me so you can see. I'm going to do 4 or 5 chains to start. You don't need to do that many, but in the beginning when you're learning, it's quite good to have more chains so you can see what you're doing. I'm joining them with a slip stitch, and this granny square is a very basic one. It's 3 chains to start, and then we're doing 2 trebles, 2 more trebles because there'll be 3 trebles. Sorry. So all into this little circle in the middle. In fact, I should do 5, not 4, because of you can't see now. I'll put another one in there just so it's a little bit easier for you to see. So I'm joining with a slip stitch, chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, and then into this hole in the circle another 2 trebles, because that 3 counts as 1, and these are doubles in America. As I said, I got a video on this, so you can watch it if needs be. There's 2 chains, and then 3 trebles, 2 chains, 3 trebles, 2 chains, until you've got your first little square. Okay, which you join with a slip stitch. And at this point, I would put markers into your corners. Now your corners at this point are quite visible because everywhere there's 2 chains is a corner. Okay. So I'm just going to pop, can you see there's 2 chains, 2 chains, 2 chains, 2 chains. So I'm just going to pop some stitch markers into where those 2 chains are. And this is going to show me where I need to put my corners for the next row. So I've gone round making my first row there for you to see, and then I'm going to join to the top here with a slip stitch. Now, depending whether you're changing colours or not is what you do next. I suggest when you're starting you keep to 1 colour because it's just simpler. So I'm going to again show you, I'm going to put these green stitch markers in every space that's got 2 chains. So there's 1 there, 1 there, 1 here, and another one where I've just, there we are, joined there. So now, okay, I'm going to turn my work at this point, because that helps stop the twist in the granny square that you sometimes see. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch into the first 2 chains. I'm going to do 3 chains to go up. I'm doing this lovely, aren't I? Let me undo that. Sorry, I'm trying to crochet over a camera. 1, 2, 3. Right, so then you put 2 more chains in here. You can take this out. Now you know this is a corner. So take that out. Do 2 more trebles in there. So you've got 3 counting the 3 chains to begin then. So 2 chains, 3 more trebles, and that's a corner. So as soon as you've completed that, you know that's a corner. So pop your stitch marker back into the 2 chain space that you've made now on the next level. Can you see that? And as you go round, take it out as you come to it and pop it back in as you've made it. So this one now, I've gone around that row and I've popped stitch marker in everywhere. I'm ready to do 2 chains and to join. So this row now, this next row, there's going to be 4 corners, but in between the 4 corners there's going to be 3 trebles. So we've come to this, this one here. That was our first row there. This is our second row, which was all corners. And this row now, there's 4 corners, but there's one lot of 3 trebles in between. And when you get to the next row, you'll have 2 lots of 3 trebles in between, because in essence, every time you make a corner, you're increasing the number of stitches. So each row you do will have another set of these 3 in. So as you're working along, so I'm going to just slip stitch now back to my 2 chains. I'm going to take that marker out, and then I'm going to do a corner where that marker was, because that marker is telling me it's a corner. So it's 3 chains, 2 trebles, 3 chains. So they help you, they do know where you are, because people get quite lost when they first start in to make granny squares and they're not sure where they are. Well, these little markers, or whatever you mark with, will just give you the confidence to know where your corners are. So once I've completed that corner, I'm going to put that stitch marker back in place. So you only need 4 stitch markers, because you're only using them in the corners and you're moving them up each time you come to a corner. So I would work 3 trebles there, and I'd work a corner there, take that out and put that in the next corner I made. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense, and it'll help you to keep your granny square with 4 corners. Bye.